Well, welcome back. So you took a break. You thought about the fact that these roles you've had in these groups, what you liked about them, what you didn't like about them. So let's move on. And when we move on, I want to talk about a little bit about collaboration in schools and really focus on this brief little interlude about the advantages. So as we mentioned in the definition, and I want to pull this out, is that collaboration is seen as voluntary. And let me do the opposite. See, oftentimes with consultation, where we have someone who's an expert and that expert's coming in to tell us what we need to be doing, and then we file what they do, and then we put that into application. Oftentimes, the consultation model is not voluntary. It's rather, no, you need assistance. Here comes the expert. The expert's going to tell you what to do. School psychologist, maybe the behavioral specialist, it may be some sort of coach, and you really don't have a say about it. Where collaboration should be voluntary. We're coming together because we have mutual goals, and there's a level of equality. There's parity when we sit down. Now, back to that variability, we need to remember and need to really emphasize this, that parity doesn't necessarily mean that we're all equal when it comes to expertise. No, no, no. No, I may come in as a special educator and I may know a lot about behavior. And I may be sitting next to a reading specialist and not begin to know what they know when it comes to reading. But see, I'm equal in that I have a shared responsibility. I have shared accountability. And there's parity in that at the table, I'm an equal to you. You're not an expert, and we all going to listen to you and follow what you say. Well, that's consultation. Collaboration is you bring in your expertise, I bring in my expertise, and together, be the two of us, three of us, four of us, shared responsibility, accountability, we'll come up with some mutual outcomes based on those mutual goals. So really critical to understand because the consultation model is a very effective model, very different from collaboration. Now, easy, right? Well, actually, interpersonal relationships, tough. Listening skills, tough. Working on others and being independent on others, oh my gosh, isn't that a challenge when it comes to group work? Gosh darn it, Sean, you assigned this group work and so-and-so group member is not holding their own. I'm having to do everything, right? Sharing that information. Of course we're going to share. Well, actually, no. Sometimes people are like, that's a brain drain. I have a level of expertise. I don't want to give that level of expertise. You need to develop your own expertise. Or come in and observe me, I'm sorry, my class is off limits. So, gosh, that causes some barriers. And then that territorial, the fact that this is my place, not your place. This is my classroom, not your classroom. And so that becomes a major, major challenge. It has been with us for decades, and it continues to be with us. You know, this idea of it does revolve a lot about the fact that, you know, we are, in a way, teachers of our classroom. Many of us are educators of our realm. This is our area. It's very centric to what we're doing. We have our philosophy. You may not agree with my philosophy. And so we need to kind of instill this level of community-wide expectations, which is difficult as well because someone may say, I'm doing fine in my classroom. You want to include children with disabilities at this level? I'm sorry, I don't believe in that. I'm doing great. The kids with extensive disabilities, they can do great over here. That's not part of my world. Sorry. Or that ability to co-plan and co-teach. Again, I'm doing fine over here. Why do I need to co-plan with someone that I need to bring up to speed from my perception? So a lot of that is really hard to do, as well as overall communication. And then, of course, in this time of society here in 2020, this idea of belonging to communities. Maybe we belong virtually, but locally at times we're disconnected. But also this shared vision. And yes, it could be about inclusion, but it could be about what we share in terms of vision for instruction, behavior, outcomes, expectations. We tend to find that at times we will differ on that. And we need to have a bit of a shared vision and purpose if we're going to collaborate. And of course, meaningful mission to go along with it. And you've seen a lot of building cultures that have unraveled because an administrator will come in and say, this is our culture, this is our shared vision. And a lot of people will say, yes, of course. And others will say, no, I don't see it that way. And what you'll find is those folks will be oftentimes the dissenters, or they'll move on to another building because of it. And that's why, collaboration in a smaller group is difficult because in a larger group we see it. Now, we have difficulties in collaboration, as I mentioned before, because we have this level of professional isolation. I mean, we have a door. It's my classroom. I'm the third grade teacher. I'm responsible for my students. And by the way, we're reinforced with that, in that if my students aren't doing well in the state assessments, I'm the one blamed, and not mom or dad at the home, not this or that, but I'm the one that's put on the level of necessary. And of course, that in isolation, we're supposed to assess, we're supposed to diagnose, we're supposed to intervene. There's a lot of levels of our individual expectation. and what we perceive our role to be. That's not to say we shouldn't do it collaboratively, but those are elements that are in place. Now, you can think about it. I mean, I've come across many cultures and classrooms where you walk into a building and you'll see the doors and the little windows, and those little windows will be covered. Or you'll see a more welcoming room as you see the door there. It's interesting, the Lawrence High School, they've designed elements to give a lot of glass, a lot of openness from the hallways. So there's a lot of in and out for a lot of different instructional purposes. Now, interestingly, what's coming out in 2020 as well is the inclusiveness, the collaborationness, there's no separation between the wall and the hallway idea, because they're trying to also use the hallway for instructional purposes. The interesting thing, and rightfully so, is, oh my gosh, all that glass, that's easy for a shooter to break that glass and come in. And so now there's actually rolling cabinets and things of that nature people are coming up with and ideas to protect. So it's really interesting in terms of the dynamics of what we're trying to deal with in our society. But again, I think that's representative of how we perceive ourselves, not so much the guns, but how we perceive ourselves as a kind of chief of our tribe, or king of the kingdom, queen of the kingdom, in terms of the classroom that we work in. Now, with all those potential challenges, benefits. So first of all, accessibility to all, whole class, okay? And then individualization can happen at the same time because we have more hands, we have more ideas, we have more supports. And by the way, there's more potential time for the assistance. So what does that look like, Sean? Well, it could be the fact that with some of my collaborative partners, now we reorganize. We have three third grade classrooms, and so we reorganize. And so maybe we divide by 3 and we reorganize the class during certain math times. And so I'm bringing on students that need more intervention support, where another teacher takes on a group of individuals that aren't necessarily assigned to them in their class, but we organize for that period of time, let's say 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, where they go off and they get more enrichment because of where they're at level-wise. So because of our collaboration and planning, we can really reorganize things. So with that, also, ways to vary, check for understanding. Again, we have a number of different individuals working with us, a number of different ideas. It has reduced referrals to special education. That's been known for decades. If we collaborate with other professionals, collaborate with special ed, general ed, collaborate across general education, collaborate with reading specialists, behavior specialists, etc., a lot of power there. And of course, access to limited resources now becomes a little bit more unlimited because of the fact that we are maximizing the folks involved. And of course, teacher accountability for increasing that, because of course now I'm looking upon the fact that, well, I can't simply say that student isn't meeting my needs, so that student no longer is in my class. Well, no, if I'm thinking about all learners and I'm collaborating with a bunch of professionals for that solution, oh, my accountability for all learners might be enhanced. Also, the fact that opportunities for co-planning, co-teaching leads to more ideas, more solutions, more flexibility. There's more creativity potentially in my lesson plans, more opportunities for awareness for what's working and what's not working. Because again, it's just not me. I'm leaning on several other peers that may be a little bit more connected. Opportunities for peers to come in and observe. As early in my career, I don't know how many teachers I went to observe regularly. I would go during my planning time and observe up and down the hallway. Yes, social studies teacher, because I was a social studies teacher, but I would look at English language arts teacher, music teachers, science teachers. I would go into classrooms. I heard they were an expert teacher. I wanted to understand what he or she was doing. And what a great time and opportunity to collaborate if we're co-teaching, to see our peers and what they're doing and what they're not doing. This shared responsibility is also the fact that, hey, we get to celebrate this shared success. And also the fact that we get another person or people to help analyze where are we challenged here. So it's not just me, it's rather several other people when we don't have the success. Better understanding of our roles. And our roles can become a little bit more fluid, which is pretty cool. A little bit more flexibility, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more support. And of course, other people to help us with time management and things of that nature. So the last thing is the fact that as a professional, we're growing. We're working with others. We're being pushed by others. We're having a chance to reflect with others. Less isolation on our part. And over reports, folks are better seeing a professional satisfaction. They feel that they've improved not only their work, their morale overall, it tends to be improved. And also we break down some of these walls. And less territorial, tends to be less tension, tends to be less fighting, and less concerned about resources, things of that nature. So let's do this. Let's take a break. I covered a bunch of different things very quickly. And with that, as we move on to the next presentation, think about some of the advantages of why we should do it. I listed a bunch. I mentioned just a handful, but there's things to go back and watch, and of course the PowerPoint's available for you to take a look at. But which are the several advantages as I talked about, which ones speak to you? I'm sorry, it says top to you, speaks to you of what you envision for your future. Are there certain things in terms of the fact that you could be in an area that is very group orientated or shared responsibility, less territory? That might be very attractive to you compared to what you've seen or you haven't seen. Have you experienced any of these or seen any of these in action? And overall, what are some of your takeaways in terms of these, specifically to outcomes? So reflect on that, and then we'll get to our third presentation here in just a moment. We're going to talk about some obstacles, and then I want to get into ways we're doing it in the classroom. Hope this has been helpful, and thanks so much for watching.